You're watching the Dakota Drive on KFYR Plus with sports director Luke Gamble. Sponsored by Trusted Tire and Auto.
Welcome into the Dakota Drive. Luke Gamble here for another week. September 22nd, football season in full swing now as things are getting more and more exciting in high school and college football. And we are going to jump right into things today. Just talking about some football. I mean, obviously, tons of great football happening around our area. The University of Mary with a huge win this past weekend. Dickinson State falls. They were ranked number 11 in the country, and they lost to number 25 Carroll College in a pretty big game. We had those highlights on Saturday night. So Dickinson State getting a taste of that new Frontier Conference and kind of what it's going to look like. But UND getting another win this weekend as well. The second time this season they've put up 50 or more points. Both of those games have been wins. So it's either, UND has lost a really close game or they've put up 50 and won in a blowout. So Eric Schmidt and his team doing some good things over there. They go into a bye week this week. Meanwhile, NDSU is going to pick up conference play against South Dakota, a team that South Dakota's had success against them lately. South Dakota maybe not off to the start that they envisioned coming into this season with the new coaching staff and that kind of thing, but we'll see. We'll see what happens when they come to Fargo. Obviously, always a tough test whenever you got to come to Fargo and play. Going to be even tougher this week as, fans are probably going to be a little extra ready for that game. But as we're talking college football, we're going to bring in our first guest of the afternoon and go ahead and kick things off right away. Give me a minute, just a second here to get him in here. But Gage Florence, he's from Sawyer, North Dakota, a Velvet Drake Animus guy, and putting on a show in the NSIC. We talked about UMary and Minot State here a little to open the show and what's going on with the NSIC. Minnesota State Moorhead off to a fantastic start this year, one of their best starts in recent history. And they've got a lot to show for it. And Gage has been one of those guys that's been a huge part of it. And so we're going to bring Gage in here now. How's it going, man? I mean, things have been rolling great for you guys. Obviously, I know you suffered a loss this past weekend, but to get off to the kind of start that you guys have as a team, what has that been like for the start of this season?
It's been amazing. It's been great to see all the hard work pay off this summer that we've been putting in. I felt like our team was in a good spot heading into the season, and obviously it's been good to see those results coming forward. Obviously, this past Saturday didn't go how we expected it to, but we're just refocusing on this week, and now all that matters is going into the Duluth game.
Yeah, and obviously we'll get back to Duluth in just a minute. Obviously, that's going to be a big one. But for you and you've been a big name there at MSUM since you started. But this ramp up. I know last year you had a couple of big games where you set some records, and then this year it's just been continuing to build on this. So this weekend, you set the new NSIC record for career receptions, so now just under 300 on your career, 296. Is that hard to believe that you've caught that many passes in college?
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. Playing here has been awesome. I mean, obviously being a wide receiver, it's the dream to be able to play in an offense like this, so, it's just a blessing.
And at the same time, you broke the Moorhead all-time receiving yards record, now over 3,142 is what I've got written down here. You mentioned, obviously, that being in an offense like that is a receiver's dream, right? Is this what you pictured when you committed to Moorhead? Could you ever have envisioned that it would have taken off to this extent?
Yeah, I mean, coming in here, I obviously knew that we like to throw the ball, and then I think it's kind of grown as the time I've been here as well. Obviously, having a quarterback like Jack in an offense like this, we just got all the right pieces that came together, and obviously I'm in a room full of a bunch of talented receivers, and us being able to do what we do is a testament to the type of players we have on our team.
Yeah, and I want to circle back to Jack as well. But like we mentioned, you guys off to a 3-1 start, one of the best starts in recent program history. This past weekend, you fall to Wayne State. You guys got behind early in the first half and tried to put together a comeback there in the second half and just couldn't quite rally the troops. Walk me through what that game was like and how you expect this team to kind of respond after a loss like that, and then as you turn around to play a really good Duluth team.
Yeah, I think going into the week, we felt like we were nice prepared. I think we just came out flat right away. We're a very rhythm-based team, and I think that us just getting stuck in the mud early it didn't help with that slow start. And eventually, obviously, we rallied towards the end and were able to find that fire and that spark that we had. And I think that we just need to step up and make plays earlier in the game. But obviously, didn't come out like we said on top like we wanted to, but going into this week at Duluth, I mean, last year we came in with a similar situation where we came off a loss like this and went into a big game like that, and we were able to get up off the mat, as Coach Lockway has preached in the past, and go in and just try to flush this one and move on to the next week and just be 1-0.
Yeah. What have you learned from Coach as you've gone through time here and obviously this season being off to such a successful start? What have you taken away from just being able to be in his system and being able to be around him all the time? What has he kind of meant to you?
He's helped me grow so much as a leader and then just a man in general. Like, I feel like everyone that comes to this program, we don't only develop on the football field, but he does a great job. Coach Lockway does a great job of developing us to be just great men of character. And I think that's a huge thing. I respect Coach Lockway a lot, and he does a good job of letting guys incorporate faith into the football team as well for those who want it. And he's helped me grow in my faith a bunch here throughout this program. And I think he does a great job of just keeping all the guys unified as one big, large group.
Yeah. Well, you obviously mentioned that, playing with a guy like Jack Strand, you mentioned it yourself, and I wanted to ask you about that. Obviously, he is garnering more and more attention, and it's kind of gotten to a level where there's kind of some national attention around him. What can you tell us about Jack Strand as a friend and a guy that you're with on a daily basis that maybe people on a national scale would never know as they try to take a peek behind the curtain and, people start to learn more and more about who he is as a football player and as a guy?
I think obviously he's such an amazing player. I mean, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the nation, like top to bottom. It doesn't matter who you put him up against. And not only is he a great football player, but he's a great teammate and he's a great leader on this team. He's one of those guys that pushes me to work harder every single day. I want to be better because of him, and he has elevated this program for sure in his time being here. And when me and him started playing together freshman year, we made a pact with each other. We're like, hey man, we're going to do this together. Like, we want to be great. We want to be able to turn this into something. And each and every day I lean on him just as he leans on me. And I think he's meant a lot to me, obviously as a teammate, but obviously also one of my closest friends.
For you guys to see that, coming to fruition and obviously seeing that success become a factor there at Moorhead, what does that mean to both of you, knowing that, you've kind of been able to help build this thing up and get it to where it's at right now?
It's so awesome. I mean, at the end of the day, like, we're out here just playing ball, and each day we get to step out there on Saturdays and just get to sling it around and playing an offense like this. I mean, it's so awesome. And then obviously the relationship that me and Jack have built together, I know I can go to him with any problem I have in my life. Same with him. Like, he's just been such a great friend to have, and like, obviously another person I look up to on the team, not only as a friend, but also as someone that I look to try to get better. And I think he does a great job of pushing all of us in each of those ways.
Well, and I'm sure it's helpful when both of you are having this much success on an individual platform to be able to look at each other and lean on each other even more and that. And I'm sure as a receiver, having a quarterback like that makes your life a lot easier, right? But, as these things come in, and I'm sure to an extent you're obviously aware of the receptions record and that kind of thing creeping up. But, as you go into a game and you're close to it, did you let that settle in at all, or is it something that you thought about afterwards? Have you let it really hit you, what it means to have your name up there on the top of that list?
We try to do a good job of just trying to stay focused on the team and the game, and I think that it won't probably. It's hit me a little bit, like being able to talk about with my mom. That was something really special after the game, and obviously being upset after a loss and stuff. But just being able to know that like hard work pays off, and obviously individual accolades come with team success, and like us just just putting my best foot forward every day and just trying to be the best leader I can on this team and just make plays when they're there for me. And I think that's the biggest thing. Obviously, it's really cool to get recognized for stuff like that. I mean, this is going to be something that I'll carry with me for a long time and hopefully be able to tell my kids about one day. But going into the game, I know I just try to focus on doing my 1/11th and just being the best teammate and leader I can be possibly each day.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned going to Moorhead and wanting to play in that kind of offense and being able to have those opportunities to get catches and that kind of thing. And I'm just curious for you as a guy from Western North Dakota, and now it seems like there's been so many more guys that are making their way to Moorhead from Western North Dakota. Callan Lucas from Legacy, Madden Thorson from Harvey. Both of those guys have been contributors since getting there. And then, I know there's a couple other guys that are younger guys on the team. And then Jack Jolson from Legacy is committed to go there too. So is there a little bit of a pipeline forming? I mean, do you feel like guys in Western North Dakota are starting to figure out, hey, if you want to get involved and be a big piece of an offense, that this is the place to come, or what's your vision of that?
I mean, I love it. I love seeing the North Dakota boys being out on the team. Obviously, I got a lot of pride being from North Dakota, especially from a small town like Velva, North Dakota. So I love seeing it. I know that there's a lot of talent in North Dakota and like these smaller places around here. And just being a guy like me, like I just show up every day and I try to work my butt off to the best of my abilities, and that's how it shows up on Saturdays. So seeing like guys like Madden, be able to play with him throughout all these years. I mean, me and him played against each other in high school, so us being able to be teammates now, that's been something really special I've been able to carry over. And then obviously with Callan being a freshman, being able to just kind of talk him into it and trying to be like a mentor for him as he's coming in, because he's got so many talents and abilities that I know he's going to be great moving forward.
Yeah, you and Madden aren't too far apart there from between Harvey and Velva, so I'm sure that's cool. Let's talk a little bit of high school football. Velva's obviously off to another good start this season. Currently ranked number 2 in the state. How much do you keep up with the Aggies and what they're doing since you left?
I always keep up with it. My younger stepbrother, he just graduated this past year, so I was definitely still locked into it pretty good when he was playing there. But now, I mean, I always keep up with the scores and stuff, and I always try to let the boys know good luck whenever I get a chance and stuff. But obviously, Velva, North Dakota, we love football there, and it's always been a big thing for us. So love seeing the boys succeed.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned that. Obviously, no shortage of success from Velva itself, and then you add in all these other communities and that kind of thing. Just for people who don't know, I mean, what does football mean to people in a place like Velva where you guys have had so much success, and the community's continuing to have success in football? Why is it a rallying point for that community? What does it mean to the people in that community?
I think it's just been something that the community always comes together on. Like when it became a Friday night and you're about to go play some ball, like it's something that the whole community would show up for and everyone was always excited for. And then obviously when you have success, that just stirs the pot and gets the flame rolling even higher. So I think it was always just something where the football team especially, we took a lot of pride in that, and we wanted to go and put our best foot forward every week and try to win games because there's nothing better when you're underneath the Friday night lights in high school with your really close buddies, and obviously going into college, playing ball too it's been amazing. So I think the people in Velva, that's always been something of great community. Like the whole town's there every time we're showing up and playing, and the support is always awesome.
Yeah, well, those guys continuing to build on that tradition. A lot of people thought, oh, they're graduating one of the best quarterbacks in the state. They're going to fall off surely, and Matt Weidler's got the guys still going there. I got to say, I think this might be the best background we've ever seen for a Zoom interview on here. But all right, we're gonna get you out of here on this. A few rapid fire questions, just kind of the first thing that comes to mind for you. I've got 3. I'm trying to come up with a 4th one here. As a wide receiver, obviously you kind of get to do your thing. But what's your favorite route on the route tree?
I like any option route, anything where it's putting me in a spot where I'm kind of playing off of a defender and kind of be able to use his leverage against them, anything like that.
You've got 296 career receptions. Is there one that stands out as a favorite?
Oh, man. Off the top of my head, I don't know if I've got one that stands out as a favorite right now. I had one this past weekend. It would have been a really cool one if it counted. Ended up being a miss in the end zone, but I don't know if one stands off the top of my head. Each one, the next one, I'll say that one.
All right. What's your? Everybody's got their pregame ritual. What's the one thing that you can never stray away from that's in your pregame ritual?
Oh man, probably the music I listen to before the game, or every game right before I play. I always pray and talk to my dad, and that's something really special I've always had that I've taken with me before every game, and I think that's something that means a lot to me every day.
Yeah. Obviously now there's another team in the NSIC from North Dakota, so you get a chance to play 3 North Dakota teams in the NSIC. Out of those 3, Jamestown, UMary, Minot State, which game are you looking forward to most this year?
I'd probably say the Jamestown one, just for senior day. Honestly, being able to wrap that one up at home, I think it'll be fun just to have that special day with all the guys on the team. We have a really special senior class here, so I guess that's more so thinking about the guys here. But I think that'll be just a really special day. Obviously, I have so much respect for my teammates and all these guys that are around me. Obviously, I wouldn't be here without them. So,
yeah, awesome. Well, Gage, we appreciate it, man. Thanks so much for coming on and chatting with us. Obviously, best of luck the rest of the way. We hope the upward trend continues and plenty more games to shatter this record and make sure your name stays up there at the top for a while. So best of luck with that. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me on.
All right, have a good one, man. All right, that was Gage Florence. Velva, Sawyer, North Dakota native. Velva, Drake Animus Aggie. Was a big part of the Aggies when he was there in high school and now making such a huge impact at the college level there for Minnesota State Moorhead. And, I mean, that team has gotten off to a phenomenal start this year. 3-1 on the year. They dropped the game to Wayne State this past weekend, 27-17. They had a chance there in the second half to get back into it and just couldn't put things together. But Gage Florence has been a huge part of that offense, and now he'll forever be in the NSIC record books. I think, considering how many games there are left in the season, he's gonna pad that stat quite a good bit. So he's at 296 now. Who knows? He could end up in the 350 range. 325 to 350, somewhere between there. Who knows? And obviously a lot of that also depends on how far this success continues for Moorhead and how deep they make it into the playoffs and that kind of thing. At the same time, now he's the MSU Moorhead all-time receiving yards record holder, over 3,100 yards. Just going to continue to build on that number as well. So we appreciate Gage joining us. Obviously, his Velvet team, the high school that he graduated, doing well right now. They're ranked number 2 in Class A for 11-man football, and that team is just, continuing to get better too here as the season continues to go on. We're going to... Obviously, I think everyone knows that at some point we're going to talk about the Minnesota Vikings today. And it's hard not to talk about the Minnesota Vikings after a performance like yesterday. But obviously a little bit different situation, something that hits a little closer to home with Carson Wentz starting at quarterback, his first ever start for the Minnesota Vikings. And, he said post-game, and then he posted again on social media just how special it was for he and his family, for a guy who grew up rooting for the Vikings. He grew up going to Vikings games, grew up doing the Skol chant, that kind of thing. He mentioned that this one did mean a little bit more, and I think, for people in Bismarck, they were probably really excited to see him just get another opportunity on a football field in a meaningful start. I mean, Carson even said earlier in the week, this is the first time in a long time that I've gotten to start a meaningful game because, last year he started for the Chiefs in Week 18, I think. The year before he started for the Rams late in the season as well. So, this was a different situation. And hey, ball games are at a premium right now. You got to go out and win games to get yourself in a playoff position. And at the same time, obviously Carson has a lot to prove with the position he's in and trying to show people that he's still got what it takes to be, a top-tier quarterback in the NFL and a starting quarterback in the NFL. And I think he had a pretty good performance, honestly. I mean, I think what he was able to do was exactly what the Vikings asked for. I don't think, obviously, if you're a Vikings fan, you would love to say, oh, yeah, Carson, go throw for 400 yards and 6 touchdowns. But, for what the Vikings were looking for and what they got out of their defense yesterday, obviously made Carson's job so much easier. And that had to give him some more confidence, knowing that, arguably one of the better defensive performances that we've seen in years from the Minnesota Vikings. Just an insane run for them in the first half. I mean, I was watching the game and literally my wife looked up at the screen and she was like, when did they score again? It just kind of felt like that was the same thing, like every 5 minutes, oh, they scored again. And I'm sure that felt good for Vikings fans, obviously. But to have that defensive performance get you into a position where maybe you can feel a little bit more comfortable, you don't have to feel pressured as much. Obviously, I'm not an NFL expert, but I felt like what Carson did yesterday was about what, the best you could have asked for if you were the Minnesota Vikings and Kevin O'Connell. And now it looks like, I think, the expectation was going into this week, J.J. McCarthy was going to be out 2 to 4 weeks. It looks like, according to what they were saying during yesterday's game, as Kevin O'Connell was saying, hey, J.J. is going to travel overseas. They've got those 2 overseas games, one in Ireland and then one in London. And J.J. is going to travel with the team and keep rehabbing. Then they have that bye week after the overseas trip, and hopefully he can come back after that bye. But he's going to travel with the team overseas, be around the team. I think that's probably good if you're the Vikings. That's probably best case scenario because then, there's so many more mental reps you can get that way. You're around the team. You're working on that camaraderie and stuff like that with guys. JJ wasn't in a walking boot on the sideline yesterday, so that's good news, obviously, in his progress. But if you're Carson Wentz, it's, hey, how can I make the best of these next 2 opportunities? And then, what happens after that? Is it, it's a toss-up of if this continues? Or, do we go back to J.J. McCarthy because he's the guy that we're paying a lot of money, which, I could understand. But, Wentz yesterday, I mean, obviously to get that first touchdown, that had to feel incredible. His first passing touchdown in a regular season game since week 18 of 2023 when he was playing with the Rams. So it's been a long time since he's had that feeling. And to do it in the Vikings stadium in front of that crowd, his family in attendance, all those things wrapped into one, I mean, that had to be pretty special. We got some video here from Carson's game yesterday, the Vikings game, as Carson took his first start for the Minnesota Vikings. And, he talked about just him running out of the tunnel and what that meant to his family and how that probably meant more. I believe this was the first touchdown pass to TJ Hawkinson. Oh, no, that was Oliver there. And, just a successful output for Wentz. I mean, he goes 14 for 20. He had 173 yards with 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. I think that's, obviously a big number that you're looking at. You don't have any blemishes on the stat sheet. He did take 3 sacks in the game, and, do with that what you will. Obviously, some of that is, what's open at the time, maybe holding on to the ball a little bit too long, but that's, a matter of opinion. Again, I'm not an NFL expert, so I'm not going to make the judgment calls on that. And how about Justin Jefferson on this run? Man, what an incredible run after the catch. I mean, he was just bulldozing people out there. But Wentz, according to ESPN, I just went and looked this up, the best QBRs for the week. And Wentz had the 24th. He was 24th in QBR this week, according to ESPN statistics. So not necessarily a super high number, but again, I think he got done what the Vikings needed him to get done in that situation, and we'll see how he continues to build on it. Obviously, at the same time, teams are going to have more tape on him now. The Steelers are going to have more that they know and can prepare for as they go into that game. And then it's going to be the same situation as the Vikings take on the Browns in the following week in London. The first NFL team to ever do that, travel overseas and then travel between countries. So that's going to be interesting as well. But hats off to Carson, hats off to the Vikings, an incredible performance. there for them. Let's talk a little high school football here before we get to our next guest. Our next guest is going to be Bismarck Bobcats head coach Garrett Roth. They got their season underway now and got their first home games in the books this past weekend. The Bismarck Bobcats getting started with a 1-1 record at home. They took one win, dropped another, but we'll get to them a little bit more in just a second. Talking a little high school football. Man, an exciting week in high school football. In Class AAA, we've been talking about them every week on here, but the Legacy Sabres, they get another nail-biter of a game, and this one just doesn't go their way. They were the top team in the state. They were playing number 5, West Fargo Horace, and West Fargo Horace ultimately made plays when it mattered most at the end of the game, and they scored a touchdown. There's 4 seconds left on the clock. They're inside the 10, definitely inside the 15, I think inside the 10, and score a touchdown on a, basically a slant route, ties the game at 13 apiece. Then they send on the kicker for the PAT and make the point after and win it 14-13. So just a insane game between Horace and Legacy. I mean, things were going back and forth, a couple of turnovers there in the third and fourth quarter that you felt like, oh, this is going to swing the game, and the game, this is going to put the game to bed, and it just seemed like that never happened. If there's two teams that I'd like to see play again this year, it'd be Horace and Legacy, because that was a heck of a matchup. Obviously, the Legacy student section was incredible. The fans on both sides were incredible. There were students showing up for that game more than an hour before it got started, and I was like, wow, this is impressive. Outside of that, Century with a big win at home. They get their quarterback Noah Herback this week. He had 1 incompletion in the game. So you talk about coming back with a bang. He had a fractured arm. He comes back and he went 10 for 11 or 9 for 10. Had 1 incompletion. So that was pretty big for Century. They get back on track and they're now back at the 500 mark. And you never know what can happen as they go into WDA play. We talked about it on Under the Lights on Friday night, but they're going to be a team to watch, certainly. Things didn't go so well for the rest of the West. Bismarck getting blown out on the road at Davies. Obviously, Davies an incredible team. There's no shame in getting beat by that team because they are a fantastic team. I wouldn't be shocked to see them in the top 3 again when polls come out here in a little bit later this afternoon, about an hour and a half from now. Davies, just another phenomenal offensive performance, putting up 40-plus points. I mean, those guys are hard to stop with the offense that they run. Mandan gets beat at home. They were in the driver's seat against Cheyenne for a portion of that game, and Cheyenne came back and won it. Cheyenne just playing really well. Put together a really good plan to come on the road and obviously end up in a really good situation to get a win there. St. Mary's was a West team moving down to Class AA, was a West team that got a win. That big for them as they get back in the win column. I'm missing one here. Mandan, Cheyenne, Century West Fargo, Legacy Horace, Davies, Bismarck. Oh, Maya and Shanley. Shanley, they're probably going to be the number 1 team in the state today. The only undefeated team remaining in Class AAA, and they put on a heck of a performance against Minot as well. Just offensive explosion for them, putting up a bunch of points. St. Mary's wins in AA. Dickinson, they were in control against Central Cass. Central Cass started the second half with a 85-yard return for a touchdown, I believe it was, and Central Cass goes on to win that game. In Class Single A, Killdeer is a team that is really coming on here. We talked about them a little bit, but they're now number 3 in the state. And after they beat Trinity in a game on Monday that had, they played half of the game on Monday, beat Trinity and, set up a unique situation where it's like, okay, you're operating on a short week and then you got to turn around and make a road trip to Bismarck on Friday and play against Shiloh Christian, and they handled Shiloh Christian. So we're going to see if we can't get set up for our next guest as we keep talking a little football here. The Bismarck Bobcats off to a pretty good start, all things considered, as they head into defending the Robertson Cup title. The Bismarck Bobcats in a position they haven't been in a really long time, having to defend the Robertson Cup title. Garrett Roth going into year 2 as head coach for this organization, and it's a unique position, and we're going to talk to Garrett about it when he comes on here in just a minute. But it's a unique position because they only return 1 or 2 guys from last year's team, so they've got tons and tons of new faces. I mean, Thomas Anderson, who was the best player, arguably the best player in the league last year. Obviously, he's gone on now to college. They had so many guys just age out from the juniors level. And so now you turn the page and it's kind of like, hey, you didn't really have a whole lot of time to spend your off season celebrating because you had to spend so much time going out and scouting and recruiting talent for the next season coming in. And so the Bismarck Bobcats got their season started at home against the Bruins on Friday and Saturday. Lost Friday night's matchup, found a way to bounce back, and ended up winning Saturday's matchup by 1 goal. Friday's matchup was obviously something where you're in a unique situation because you're introducing a championship banner and dropping a championship banner, and there's lots of emotions and that kind of thing. And how do a bunch of young guys handle that, especially when, they're, a bunch of guys who honestly, obviously weren't around for that championship. So kind of a unique position there. Meanwhile, you've got the same guys on the bench that were there last year, and Garrett Roth and Lane Sedevy and that coaching staff. And so they get a chance to kind of revel in that moment. I'm sure for those two, they probably weren't too concerned about the banner situation, but Bobcats, it's going to be an interesting season. I think another cool thing, and I actually need to write this down on my notes to ask Garrett about, but another interesting thing to watch for them this year is they've got something new that they're playing for outside of the normal NAHL title that they'll be going after in the Central Division and that kind of thing. They introduced the Dakota Cup, Dakota Buffalo Cup, I believe is what it's called, because it's sponsored by Buffalo Wild Wings. But it's going to be between the 4 teams that are in North and South Dakota. You've got the Wings, Watertown, Minotauros, and Bobcats that are going to be competing for it, and they're going to take the point total from those teams based on wins and losses from the year, and whoever has the most points between those 4 teams and games against one another between the North and South Dakota teams, they're going to get to take home the first ever Dakota Cup. So that's kind of a cool thing. I'm not 100% sure if there's a physical trophy yet or not, so that's something that we'll have to ask Garrett about when he hops on here in just a second. But obviously a cool added element. I'm just going to shoot Garrett a text here real quick. Obviously a cool added element for those guys to be able to have something extra to compete against. And obviously it's so tough to win an NAHL title when you're talking about, it's so tough to win a Central Division title because the Central Division is one of the most competitive in the NAHL, but at the same time, it's so tough to win an NAHL title because there's so many teams that you don't see. The format is so crazy where you're playing 5-game series, then you go and you play a 3-game series, and then it's 1 game for winner takes all for the championship, which obviously the gauntlet that the Bobcats went through last year, and they were successful in that. But that makes it so much tougher to win whenever you have to go through so many teams and you have to go through so many situations of being in a unique situation with the way the format's laid out. I'd be interested to hear what Garrett's thoughts are on the format of how the playoffs are done, just because it is so unique. It seems interesting that it goes backwards and you play 1 championship game as opposed to playing, a series for a championship, whether that be 3 games or 5 games. But we're going to give Garrett a couple minutes here and see if if he's going to hop on with us. But talking about some other things in Western North Dakota this past weekend, the University of Mary with a big blowout win at home I just saw something come in. I'm going to read it off here real quick. UMary's Christopher Federico wins the Northern Sun Defensive Player of the Week honor. UMary getting that 40-9 win against Southwest Minnesota. Federico registered a career-high 3.5 tackles for loss against the Mustangs, setting MSU back a total of 11 yards. That was the most tackles behind the line for any NSIC player last week. He also had a team-high 11 tackles, 7 solo stops. So they held the Mustangs to 256 yards. They only had 58 rushing yards. Third time in 4 games that UMary has held an opponent below 300 yards, so that's big for the Marauders. UMary leading the NSIC in fewest yards allowed per game at 299.8, so they're just under that 300-yard threshold as an average, but those are pretty good numbers when you look at what UMary has been able to do, and the other thing is they've had a little bit of a quarterback conundrum going on. Their starting quarterback transfer getting injured, and so they've gone through a couple of guys there. And now Hudson Sheldon from Mandan takes over the starting role. Last week he kind of split reps, and then this week he started and was the lone quarterback to play for the Marauders. He goes 10 for 17, 213 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. That's a heck of a performance. Obviously, it's no surprise that he was able to pull that off because we know that he's a phenomenal athlete. Obviously a phenomenal athlete across the board. It doesn't matter what sport you're talking about. Baseball, basketball, football, track. He's a state champion in track. But for him to come in as a true freshman and, perform the way that he has for UMary so far, that's pretty impressive. And, obviously we'll have to see how that continues throughout the rest of the season. But UMary hosting Northern State this weekend, so they'll get back at home. That'll be a good chance for people in Bismarck and Mandan, for the Mandan folks hoping to watch Hudson and a couple of those other Braves players. Be a good chance for folks in Bismarck to see the Marauders play this weekend. So that heck of a game for UMary. They're in a good spot defensively. Obviously, they've gotten off to a great start. We're going to see how things continue as they get into the thick of their schedule, and obviously things only continue to get tougher. That's going to make things that much more difficult. We've got Garrett Roth coming on here. We're going to try to get him set up as we... Let's see here. Bismarck Bobcats head coach Garrett Roth going to join us here in just a second. We're trying to get a Zoom set up and situated. We just talked about the Bismarck Bobcats getting their season started, getting a chance to play at home this weekend for the first time. And there we go, Garrett Roth. Awesome. How are you doing, man? You get a chance to play in front of your home crowd this weekend. How did it feel to be back in Bismarck after what's been I'm sure, crazy off season?
Yeah, thanks for having me. You know what? It was really exciting. The accomplishments of our team last year. Obviously we won it on the road, so we weren't able to share it with the whole fan support that we have here in the Bismarck Mandan community. So to be able to hoist the banner, have the Robertson Cup there, and get to share that moment with the fans was something really special for us as an organization.
Yeah, you mentioned obviously getting to put up a new banner and that kind of thing. You've obviously had months to kind of sit on this, but was it a little different to look up there and see a banner for you? Does it feel any different I know you've won a banner as a coach, but to win one in Bismarck and be able to look up there on the wall, does anything feel different about that to you or mean a little bit more?
It certainly means a lot more. Obviously, Bismarck here, the Bobcats, gave me an opportunity to stay involved in hockey when things weren't going that well for me as a player, and kind of found the passion and was able to have some success. And, it kind of kickstarted my opportunity to continue to stay in the game. And, it eventually led me back here to Bismarck, as an assistant coach for 8 years, and now as a head coach here for my second year. So I'm so privileged to have the opportunity to be back here and to coach in this organization, in this community with these young men that are trying to live out their dreams. And so, yeah, to be in the moment there on Friday night and to see all the hard work that our players went through last season and the accomplishment that they achieved, it was definitely special. We didn't have many guys from last year's team in attendance because they're off, pursuing their careers and college opportunities. But definitely got a lot of messages from guys, wishing that they were there and, still thinking about the fan base and the night that we had on Friday. So, it was certainly special, and, it was really awesome to be able to spend it, in the VFW Center with our fans.
Well, you couldn't be in a more different position this year than you were last year, right? I mean, you had a lot of returners last year, a lot of veteran guys, and I think you returned what, one guy on this year's roster or something like that. Very few bodies. So, was most of the offseason, did it just feel like a dead sprint because you're trying to put together the pieces and scout and recruit and those kind of things?
There wasn't a whole lot of panic. We did a nice job with Nico Kaptanovic, Wade Chido, myself, Lane, Alec. We're all kind of hands on deck here in terms of trying to find the next group of players to come through the organization and represent the Bobcats. And so we had, a number of tenders where we were able to get guys solidified on, and protected before the draft. We spent a lot of hours trying to make sure that, we hit on the guys in the draft, and, we felt that we did a nice enough job to be able to get, a good portion of those guys to be able to report to us. And then, just with some of the connections, we've been able to get some free agent ads from different leagues that have really rounded out and shaped out our roster. And so I think I was more nervous about last year's team, coming on board one day prior to the season starting and, taking over for my best friend and someone who's done a fantastic job here as a head coach with the Bobcats, and Lane Sedevy. And I just didn't want to come in here with a team that was veteran and proven and mess anything up. And so I think that was, the internal pressure that you have as a person, as a coach, to try to accomplish something that was set up, and a group that was seasoned and ready to make a run. And so this year have a lot more relationships with the guys that we've been able to build over the course of, last season and the off season. And so I think they're a little bit more familiar with myself and our staff than last year's group was, but it's certainly exciting. Anytime you start the season off, it's about trying to build that culture. And the biggest thing is getting to know different personalities, making sure guys understand that you care about them, on a personal level, not just on the hockey side of things. And making sure that, you're hard on guys at times, but also let them know that it's okay to make mistakes as long as we're playing hard and being aggressive with our mindset. And so, we've been here 5 weeks now. Definitely feel like we've made some really great strides in the right direction with what we want our identity to be. We had a nice lead in Friday night's game, 3-0, and we kind of let them get back in the game with a couple of situations and some blown coverages and structure breakdowns. But the nice thing about our group was, on Saturday, we kind of went over film. Guys got, focused a little bit more. And I thought our attention to detail was so much greater than it was on Friday. And for a group that's put together without a lot of guys that were here last year, without a ton of guys that have played in our league and understand what it's all about, it was awesome to see that response, and certainly something that we're definitely proud of our guys for how they handled themselves Saturday, and I think it's a great kickstart to going into this 3 games and 4-day stretch at the showcase to put our best foot forward and play as hard as we can.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. When you talk about having so many guys who haven't played in this league, they haven't experienced, however, the stretch of games you play for the duration of however many months, And then on top of that, you talk about experiencing the motions of, oh, I scored my first goal as a junior hockey player. Or, I got had my first big game as a junior hockey player. How do you manage the mental side of that and the emotional side of that when you have so many guys that are so new to this?
Well, and it's a great question, because I was talking with Brandon on our coaches show this past Wednesday, and kind of our mantra last year was no game is bigger than another game in the season. We're not going to look at a certain weekend or a certain matchup and start to get prepared for that. We want to take one day as it comes. And, it's kind of a little bit different, heading into game one of the season, because we have a lot of guys that have never played here with a Bobcat jersey on. They haven't played junior hockey. It was a big night with the banner revealing, and honoring last year's team. And so it certainly was a game that was bigger for some of these guys than they've ever played in. And so we didn't want to bottle those emotions up. We wanted to utilize that as fuel and energy. And we understood that, with that comes some mistakes, mental mistakes, but we just wanted our guys to come out and try to play our best brand of hockey, which is fast paced, in your face, try to play physical, transition hockey, and, not focus too much or worry about breakdowns and coverages and systems on game one, because we understood that once the game's over, we're going to have some film that we could go over, help some teaching moments on Saturday for preparation. And then, once the nerves come down a little bit after guys got their first game in, the emotions are in check a little bit more, because it's not the home opener. I think guys were able to settle into the focusing and understanding of what their assignments and details were. And that's why I feel like we were a lot more crisp on Saturday. I thought our guys performed at a much better level than we did on Friday. Although on Friday, I didn't mind our energy. I didn't mind the way that we played. It was just some of those mental breakdowns that cost us. But, you can't blame guys for, trying to control their emotions and go through the process of something that's a completely new experience to them. And that's where us as a coaching staff, we have to understand that and not try to micromanage things. Just let guys go play, make mistakes during the moment, but, fix it on the backside. So definitely don't want to take away from guys' aggressiveness nature, and just try to play as fast as we can.
I just wanted to ask you, you talked about the pressure you felt last year, just maybe internally, but as a team and, between you and your coaching staff, how do you set goals and expectations for a year like this, where you're coming off a championship, you have so many new faces, but at the same time, you have, your coaching staff back, you have a lot of, the internal things that are back. So how do you weigh that? How do you evaluate goals and expectations for a full season when you come in to something so new?
Yeah, I think every year is a new year, and you got to understand the group and see what they're all about. And we feel we put a really good group of young men together that, we can challenge for another run at this thing. And that's the expectation. We don't, just because we have one returning forward and a returning goaltender doesn't mean we're going to push, take this season off and try to just rebuild for the future. That's not our mindset. We're going to put our best foot forward every single day. We're going to continue to make the additions that we need to, so that we can represent our Bismarck Mandan community to the way that it deserves. And that's high level hockey that, is a winner. And so we want to make sure that we provide that for our fan base here. And so, we're going to make sure every day we're trying to get the most out of our guys. We're going to push them to extremes that they haven't had to endure up to this point. But we're going to do it, with some nurturing as well, and let them know that, hey, we definitely have to show up. We have to work. We have to compete. We're going to push you outside of your comfort zone. But also, once we get off the ice, we're going to put your arm around you and let you know it's okay that you made mistakes. You know what? I know it's a new experience for you. Let's get through this together. And I think with that mindset, you can help kind of get that culture built in that locker room where guys enjoy coming to the rink. They know they're going to work, but they enjoy coming, being around one another. They know when they come to the rink, they're going to have fun, but they're going to work hard. And I just think it brings a really competitive spirit to the locker room and to our team. And I think if we're pushing each other day in and day out to get better, as a whole, we're going to get better, but also individually, which at the end of the year is going to put us in the best spot to compete for another Robertson Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're not going to take too much of your time. We're going to get you out of here with a couple of rapid fire questions. Just the first thing that comes to mind. You mentioned the NAHL showcase. What's your favorite part about that showcase?
Seeing how our guys respond in that setting, in that atmosphere, because there's a lot of NHL scouts, there's a lot of Division I scouts, Division III scouts, and that's what our guys are here for that next opportunity. And so you learn a lot about players, you learn a lot about your team when they're in pressure moments. And so I think that's what I'm most excited about, seeing how some of our guys respond, and helping them develop it and teach them through that process as well.
Who is the other team to watch in the Central Division this year?
I think Aberdeen Wings have a really good roster. Austin, they're very veteran group, and they're well coached. I think those two teams, look on paper to be really promising. Minot's always done a great job. Watertown was one of the better teams the second half last year. They have a lot of returners. St. Cloud, they were really good towards the end of the year. I think all of the teams in our division are really well coached, and they know what their brand needs to be. And it's looking like a lot of teams. North Iowa had a great weekend against Minot. So it just kind of comes down to, who can develop over the course of a 7-8 month season, what players buy into that coaching staff and that organization, and what their culture needs to be, and continuing to get better every day. And so I don't necessarily have a great answer for you. I think our division's always really competitive. But I would say, coming off of weekend one, I think Aberdeen Wings look the sharpest right now.
Give us one name to know on this new roster that Bismarck fans might not know.
Nils Morens, he played goaltender for us on Saturday. Big 6'4" goalie, Latvian. He's going to play at the World Juniors for Latvia. Looks like he's going to be their starting goaltender. And so he did a great job in exhibition against Minot. He was sound for us Saturday night, made some big saves in timely moments. And so, yeah, he's definitely a guy that we're excited to have on board.
Awesome. Last one. Who wins in a shootout today, you or Lane Sedevy?
He's goalie, I'm forward?
Yeah.
Probably Lane. I'll come down. I'll have my head down because I'm way out of my prime. I'll be trying to just control the puck, and he'll come out with a flying poke check at my feet and send me flying into the end board. So I would have to put my money on Lane on that one.
All right. We won't let him know you said that. All right, Garrett, thanks for joining us. We appreciate the time, man.
All right. Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate you.
All right, Bismarck Bobcats head coach Garrett Roth. Bobcats going 1-1 on the weekend. We're going to hurry and jump into our next conversation. Kyler Kudrna committed to North Dakota State University baseball on Friday, and had a chance to catch up with him about his commitment, his decision, and what it means to him. First off, just how excited are you to commit to North Dakota State, and what was your process like to get to that point?
I'm really excited. I guess it was a pretty big process, I guess. We went on quite a few visits to most of the local schools, but, it just kind of came down to what felt like home, I guess, to me. And NDSU kind of felt like home. It's only 4 hours away from here. And, yeah, it kind of all started after going into my junior year. I played fall ball with the team from Fargo called Dakota Selects, and we did team or a camp at NDSU, and that's kind of how I first got in touch with them, and then attended their camp again this year, and they liked what they saw, and yeah, we made it happen.
So what was your thought process behind doing it now? Like, why was now the right time to commit?
I think it was one kind of like a deadline for that NDSU gave, just kind of like a time frame that they'd like to see commit. And I just felt like I was ready for it, and felt like NDSU was a good place to be.
Yeah. What does it mean to you to, obviously you're going to get to, stay in state and play for your home state team. I mean, did you grow up a Bison fan? Like, is this something for you that's kind of really cool as a long-term deal, as, going from a kid to the point that you're at now?
Yeah, we always kind of follow the Bison around here. We kind of follow a lot of teams, but I mean, it's nice that I'll get to be playing in front of my home state, and then obviously family can come watch and all that. So I think it's a pretty big deal. I'm excited for it, and yeah.
What stood out about North Dakota State? Just obviously you've had a chance to do a couple of camps there, like you mentioned, and meet their staff and that kind of thing. But was there something that pushed them over the edge, or what was that element that you felt like pushed them over the edge and ultimately helped make your decision?
Yeah, so I went on a like unofficial visit on my way down to Iowa for a fall ball tournament, and we just kind of the coaches took me around campus. Everything's like super close together. So the freshman dorm is connected with the dining hall, and then the dorms are right across the street from the baseball field, the indoor baseball facility, and then the shack where you lift, and then the clubhouse slash locker rooms at. So everything's just pretty close together, which is pretty convenient. You know, you don't have to drive around campus, and it'll help for the winters too. So, yeah.
Yeah. So on your graphic it says pitcher. So are you primarily going to pitch there?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's I mean, there's a couple of guys, 3 or 4 guys. I was trying to go back and look, but Skylar Edinger and Parker Harm and other guys that have played in the WDA and gone on to pitch there just in the last 5 or 6 years. So how cool is that for you to kind of be, another guy from Western North Dakota to go out and represent and get a chance to pitch for the Bison?
I'm excited because I mean they got a really good program over there. Obviously, last year they made it to a regional and they have a lot of success over there. Like you said, you guys have been drafted. Like I know Parker Harm a little bit because he played. He was in high A with my cousin, who's with the Royals, so we kind of know him a little bit from that, and just excited to be in a successful program like that.
I wanted to ask you about that. Your cousin's Ben, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So how much advice have you gotten from him? Just maybe not even just in recruiting, but just from a baseball perspective. I mean, how much do you use him as a tool, as a guy who has a lot of experience and is playing baseball at a really high level?
Yeah, it's super nice having him there. Obviously, you can learn a lot just from watching baseball, and so just watching him learn a lot from him, kind of like what it's like to be at such a high level. And I ask him sometimes too about stuff like what am I doing wrong or what could I do to improve. And so he sent me like the workouts that some of the Royals do, like when he was first drafted, and yeah, we just kind of talk. We catch up with each other, how his starts go and how he's doing and stuff like that.
Uh, I was kind of keeping up this summer when you were traveling around and playing a bunch. You got a chance to go down to Atlanta, right, and play.
Yeah, yep. So that was
What was that experience like for you?
that was super fun. I mean, that's like those were the best uncommitted kids in the country playing against each other. I got the opportunity to pitch against like Florida and Georgia. So I mean, baseball down there is really, really competitive. So it was tough. I pitched 2 good innings though. But yeah, I think there were like over 450 Division I scouts there alone. So that's a really big place to get in front of a lot of people. And yeah, I mean, I never been to Atlanta before, never been down south before. So it was actually my first time flying as well. So that was pretty exciting.
All right, well, that was Kyler Kudrna, the North Dakota State baseball commit. He's a Dickinson High senior, and he'll be pitching for the Bison next year, 2026-2027 season. So we had a great visit with him. Appreciate his time, and hoping to see some big things from him and Dickinson in the WDA this year before he heads off to the Bison. He did say that he's going to play he plans to play in the spring and then in the summer with the Dickinson Rough Riders as well. So plenty more baseball to be seen by him around here. We appreciate you joining us today on the Dakota Drive, another episode in the books. We will be back next week, 2 to 3 p.m. Central, right here on KFYR Plus for another loaded week and hopefully a lot more fun. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your Monday afternoon. We'll